Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. We are pleased to present our risk analysis for the Cooperative and Entrepreneurship Development Institute, which also called as Cedi. This analysis was conducted through a series of interview with a representative from Cedi, in which we sought to interview and understand the various risks facing by the organization. Through our analysis, we also identify a range of risks that Cedi may face in future, including financial risks, operational risks, and reputational risks. We also developed a set of recommendations to help Cedi manage and mitigate the risks going forward. We hope that this presentation will provide valuable insight and guidance to Cedi as they work to navigate the challenge ahead and continue grow and thrive as an organization.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Muhammad Fahmi bin Abdul. My metric number is 273090. In this video, I will be briefing about risk identification, 15 risk significant risk factor and impact on organization. The first risk is compliance risk. This risk law related to occupational safety, equipment certification requirement, and claiming ignorance of these changes is not a valid defense. The impact of the Cedi action will be imposed on students for not following procedure when conducting business. Cedi will be responsible if there is an incident involving safety customer. The second risk is legal risk. This risk related to violation of laws or regulation. The operation of the student entrepreneur Cedi are subject to all applicable regulation. The impact is information of the business. Cedi may face legal risk when forming a business, such as choosing the wrong business structure or failing to document its business correctly. Thirdly is security risk. The protection property or physical asset from action and event that could cause damage or loss. The impact is physical security. Cedi may face risk related to physical security, such as theft, vandalism, or breaking. Next is operational risk. The risk processes or procedure not being followed correctly could lead to error or mistake that impact on student business operation. The impact is ineffective internal process or external event can disrupt the flow of business operation. Cedi may receive many complaints from customers that students operate the business. Next is business interruption risk. If the student rely on certain supplier or material, there is a risk that a disruption in supply chain could affect the business operation. Business operation by student Cedi will often be held because they only rely on certain supplier or material. The number 6 is competitive risk. The risk of student losing market share to competitor, either due to changes in the competitive landscape or the institute strategic misstep. The effect is the Cedi will be hard for students to enter the barrier and sustain in the long term. Since many good business are in UEM, it will be a factor that slowing growth for students to achieve their goal. 7 is strategic risk. The student of Cedi business may not clearly understand the potential demand for the new offering or may face uncertainty about the cost and challenges of bringing them to the market. Strategic decision by student to run a business will be unclear or poorly made. It will lead to a slowdown in student-run sales. Next is execution risk. Resource constraint. The institute may face constraint on its resources, such as financial resource, personal or physical resources, which may impact its ability to execute its plan. The effect to Cedi is Cedi may incur loss on student-run business if the business fails to achieve sufficient sale to cover a cost. This can lead to delay and additional cost to the business change effort. The number 9 is reputational risk. The risk that institute reputation will be diminished due to negative public perception or negative publicity. Damage to reputation can result in lost revenue, student entrepreneur turnover, and lost confidence from stakeholders. This impact can also expose Cedi to legal action or force it to provide compensation to those affected. 10 is resources risk. The risk that the student will not have access to the resource, such as funding, talent, and technology needed to achieve its goal. This can affect the lack of resources faced by the student Cedi. In the long term, to run a business can hamper the business timeline and contribute significantly to goals delays. For the number 11 is business management risk. This risk, the possibility is that the potential of the business will go beyond what was originally expected, resulting in delays or not achieving the KPIs. Cedi student entrepreneur will face decreased production output or low quality consumer due to poor management efficiency. 12 is funding risk. Institute relies heavily on a single funding source, such as loan provided by Cedi or significant donor. There is a risk that funding could be lost or reduced. With the possible reduction in funding offered by the KPT, Cedi will find it difficult to distribute and provide funding to students to run the business. 13 is political risk. Changes in policies or regulation made by the university management that affect the student business operation or the broader business environment could negatively impact to the student business performance. The impact to the organization, business operation will be had due to changes in policy or regulation declared by the university management. 14 is health and safety risk. An evaluation of the dangers staff and student at an incident may face that might result in damage, disease or death. For example, Cedi will receive many complaints when food poisoning occur due to negligence in food preparation process handled by the student Cedi. Action will be taken if the incident becomes serious, involving the health of the customer. Last but not least is cyber threat risk. The likelihood that the organization may be exposed to harm or suffer loss due to cyber attack or database leak. A database about Cedi will be leaked to hacker for personal use, such as information about Cedi organization or Cedi student. That's all for me.
Okay, Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Nasrul Hakimi bin Azmi, entry number 273010. So today I will continue my friend presentation. The part I will cover is technique to identify and analyze the risk. So the procedure that will be used to identify and analyze the Cedi risk is through interview with the person in charge for this work scope. Alright, the first risk that I have identified is compliance risk. Through interview, we are able to identify the risk of students who may unable to follow the procedure when operating business. Like example, opening store at a prohibited area, such as library. Next is legal risk. Through interview, risk of student operating business without Cedi approval and without a license to do so on university property. Next is security risk. Through interview, Cedi had mentioned that the building of Cedi has probability to be broken because the security at a very average level. Next is operational risk. In interview, Cedi had mentioned that although there has a protocol in place for dealing with risk, but it was not fully followed. So as a result, they will experience problem when the risk occur and will unable to solve it effectively. Next is competitive risk. The student business do not do well because cannot compete against each other. Next is healthy and safety risk. About during the interview, risk that we have identified the risk student who manage the food business but do not have a typhoid vaccine. So there will be a question about the cleanness of the food. Next is execution risk. For the student who were unable to make significantly sales, so they decide to close their business. Next is reputational risk. So it's about a risk of Cedi reputation will be harmed because unethical student activity. Next is resources risk. So it's about resources risk about risk of the student with a resources risk about a risk of student with a greater resources or connection can manage their business more effectively than other. Next is cyber threat risk about the risk of student information in regard to their business being leaked out. Next is funding risk. During interview, Cedi also worried that maybe there will be reduced incentive to help students in operating their business. Next is political risk. Risk for the student Risk for the student need to be alert if the government reduce or eliminate the subsidy, so the price for the raw material will increase. Lastly is the strategic risk. So is the risk about risk student that are unable to keep up with the latest trend, so they will lose against their rival. Okay, next I will continue about the impact risk to the Cedi vision, mission, and objective. Okay, so in order to provide focus and have everyone aligned with the organization, Cedi has set out their vision, mission, and objective. So, what impact of risk to its vision, mission, and objective? Alright, for the first risk is compliance risk. For the vision, the lack of administration to ensure that students follow instruction made it impossible for Cedi to establish itself as a leading center for cooperative development and entrepreneurship. For the mission, Cedi is unable to keep up the environment for student entrepreneurship due to a lack of management to guarantee that students adhere to rules. Next is objective. Due to the lack of management to ensure that students follow instruction, it will be difficult for Cedi to develop the international training approach for students. Next is the legal risk. For the vision, Cedi will struggle to become a well-known center for cooperative development and entrepreneurship, since it was unable to ensure that all students conducting business in university had a license. For the mission, it is difficult for Cedi to support ecosystem of student entrepreneurship because they were unable to ensure that all students running enterprise at university had a license. Last, for objective, finding organization and companies to partner with by providing a knowledge in the area of entrepreneurship development is challenging for Cedi because it is unable to verify that all students running business while in the university have a license. Next risk, security risk. Since Cedi lack property security to safeguard student information pertaining to its business, it will to be impossible for it to become a well-known center for cooperative development and entrepreneurship. For the mission, it was challenging for Cedi to support ecosystem for student entrepreneurship since it lacked enough security to protect student information. For the objective, to establish an ecosystem for startup business that rely on technology or innovation, as Cedi lack enough security to safeguard student information. Next is operational risk. Cedi will find it challenging to establish itself as a leading center for cooperative and development and entrepreneurship because they did not have adhered to the risk controlling strategy. For the mission, the Cedi's failure to follow the risk controlling strategy made it difficult for them to support the student and entrepreneurial ecosystem. Next, for the objective, it will be challenging to support the university income generating initiative given Cedi failure to adhere to the establishing risk controlling plan. Next is competitive risk. For the competitive risk, for the vision, due to student inability to come up with the innovative idea that could effectively compete with each other, Cedi will find it challenging to establish itself as a leading center for cooperative development and entrepreneurship. For the mission, due to the student failure to develop novel idea and continuous operating business, it is difficult for them to understand the necessity of the national job creator framework. For the objective to develop an ecosystem of startup firms that use innovation or technology in light of student failure to come up with the new idea and maintain their business. Alright, next is a healthy and safety risk. Cedi will struggle to become a well-known center for cooperative development and entrepreneurship, since some students who own food business do not have typhoid vaccine. For the mission, since some students who own business do not have typhoid vaccine, to be realized as a aspiration of the national job creator framework will be difficult. So for the objective, it will be also challenging to improve student entrepreneur training method because some students who operating business lack of typhoid vaccine. Alright, for the execution risk, so for the vision, it will be challenging for Cedi to establish itself as a leading institution for cooperative development and entrepreneurship because many students need to take a minimum amount of money in order to keep their business operating. For the mission, it is challenging to be a proactive support institution in the area of entrepreneurship and cooperative development because many students must earn a minimum amount of money to keep their business operating. For the objective, to provide infrastructure and direction that is student friendly for operating a business will be challenging because students must earn a minimum amount of money to keep their business operation. Alright, for the next one is the reputational risk. For the reputational risk, for the vision, so it will be challenging for Cedi to establish itself as a leading center for cooperative development and entrepreneurship because of student institution behavior and ethical behavior. For the mission, due to the student immoral behavior, Cedi have difficulty to achieve the objective set forth in the National Job Creator Framework. So for the objective to offer resources for the starting a business that are friendly to student will be hard because student immoral behavior. Next is the resources risk. For the resources risk about uh, resources risk, given the student inability to organize their resources efficiently, study will find it challenging to establish itself as a leading center for cooperative development and entrepreneurship. For the mission, due to student failure to effectively manage their resources, study have difficulty achieving their aspiration of the National Job Creator Framework. For the objective, since a student failure to effectively manage their resources successfully, increase student participation in social entrepreneurship activity based on 3P: profit, planet, people, principle. Next is the cyber threat risk. So for the vision, we do the absence of a solid security database that result in information leakage, Cedi will become difficult to become well-known center for cooperative development and entrepreneurship. For the mission, it was difficult for Cedi to maintain the student entrepreneurial ecosystem as a result of information leakage caused by the lack reliable security database. For the objective to create an ecosystem of startup company which leverage information innovative or technology will be hard because of the risk of information leakage caused by the lack of reliable security database. Next, next is a funding risk. Since there is less initiative to support study student in running their business, study will have a lot difficulty becoming a well-known center for cooperative development and entrepreneurship. Next is for the mission, being a proactive support to support institution in the area of entrepreneurship and cooperative development is challenging because there is less incentive to help students run their business. Next, for the objective, since there is less incentive to help students run their firm, it will be difficult to strengthen the entrepreneurship training approach for the student. Next is political risk. Because of the government action to reduce or cut subsidy of raw material on the owner of the business, study will find hard or challenging to become a well-known hub for the cooperative development and entrepreneurship. For the mission, it is difficult for study to serve as a proactive support institution in the area of entrepreneurship and cooperative development as a result of the government incentive have been reduced, so the raw material will increase, price will increase. So the next is the objectives. It will be difficult to develop entrepreneur training approach for students because the government incentive have been reduced. So the last one is the strategic risk. For the vision, student incapability to keep up with the most recent trend will make it impossible for them impossible for Cedi to become a well-known hub for the cooperative development and entrepreneurship. For the mission, the National Job Creator Framework is difficult for the student to understand since they are unable to keep up with the most recent trend. And for the last one, for the objective is to establish an ecosystem of startup enterprise that rely on creativity or technology as a result of a student that are unable to keep up with the most recent trend. Alright, that's all from me. So I will pass the presentation for my friends.
Hi and a very good day. My name is Mama Kepirufa. My metric number is 273000 and I will continue this presentation with acceptability of identified risks by comparing them to the organization's risk appetite. So this risk appetite is any risk that involving UUM student that want to set up a business in UUM and should not possibly give a setback to Cedi or UUM. Other than that, Cedi will either avoid partially or wholly. The first risk is compliance risk, which is acceptable to them. Cedi will try to mitigate it. Cedi will not do any risk reduction and will continuously supervise students regarding procedures. Students that do not follow procedures when operating business are subject to appropriate corrective action. Next is legal risk, which is still acceptable to them. Cedi will try to mitigate it. Registered students are fully responsible if anything happens regarding their business. If it is involving registered students, Cedi will implement control processes within established tolerances to manage it. Next is security risk, which is unacceptable to them. Cedi will try to avoid it. Why? Because the loss of important documents and items is a huge setback for Cedi if it happens, so they will try to avoid it. Next is operational risk, which is acceptable to them. Cedi will accept it. Processes or procedures under Cedi are usually checked thoroughly to prevent it from happening. If it happens, Cedi will do their best to reduce the impact on students' business operations. Next is competitive risk, which is acceptable to them. Cedi will mitigate it by setting up a number of students to enter a specific type of market in UM to avoid unnecessary competition and disrupt students' business operation. Next is health and safety risk, which is unacceptable to them. Cedi will try to avoid it by doing what? Every student that involved in food industry inside UM will get typhoid immunization injection and their premises are regularly checked. Next is execution risk, which is unacceptable to them. Cedi will avoid it. By what? By how? Cedi will give the required steps for students to bounce back from the business if falls. Next is reputation risk, unacceptable to them. Cedi will avoid it by prohibiting students with unethical behavior from registering under them. Also, existing registered students who recently become involved with unethical behavior will be banned from registering under them. Cyber threat risk, which is still unacceptable to them. Cedi will avoid it by setting up a good firewall that prevents hackers from gaining access to the database. Next is funding risk, unacceptable to them. Even though the risk is unacceptable, Cedi will accept it if it happens because Cedi could tolerate any risk involving students. Also, no risk reduction needed since it is an external factor. Cedi would set up a number of businesses that are available for funding. Next is political risk. This type of risk is still acceptable to them. Cedi will accept it with no risk reduction since it is an external factor. Cedi would do their best to control and monitor to prevent growth of risk. The last one is strategic risk, which is still acceptable to them. Cedi will mitigate it by offering advice on business strategy management to students that are having difficulties to keep their product relevant in the market. That is all from me about acceptability of identified risks. I'll pass it to my friend. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and good morning. My name is Ikwataki bin Azhar. My number matric is 273145. As we know, running a business can be challenging, especially for students who may have limited resource and experience. In this presentation, I will discuss some of the key risks that Cedi and student business may face and how will be prioritized in the risk matrix. First, let's talk about the most extreme risks. Those are likely to occur and have a major impact on the business. One example of an extreme risk is execution risk, which can rise when a business lack the physical facilities or financial resource it needs to operate effectively. This can be especially challenging for student business, which may have relied to operating on weekend or online in order to generate revenue. Another extreme risk is resource risk, which can occur when business lack the resource it need to produce or deliver its product or service. This could include intangible resource such as reputation as well as more tangible resource like a physical location or equipment. A lack of resource can lead to a decline in customer satisfaction as the business may not be able to provide the same level of quality or service it had previously. This can lead to decline in customer trust and loyalty, which can negatively impact the business sale and revenue. Finally, finding risk, which is a common challenge for student business, which often rely on the single resource or funding, such as an investor or lender. If the funding resource is unavailable or decreased, the business may struggle to continue operation. Now, let's move on the high risk scenario, those that are less likely to occur but would still have a major impact on the business. One example is reputation risk, which can occur when a business is accused of engaging in unethical or illegal practice. This can damage the company reputation and harm its relationship with employees, customers, and other stakeholders. A damaged reputation can lead to the decline in customer trust and sale, as customer may less likely to do business with a company or business that is perceived as unethical or untrustworthy. It can also lead to a decline in employee morale, as employee may be less motivated to work for the business with a negative reputation. Another risk is high risk scenario is health and safety risk, which can arise when business fail to properly store or handle food, handling to foodborne illness outbreak among customer. This can lead a negative publicity, a decline in customer trust, and potential legal consequence. This could be more serious if Pusat Kesihatan University, or called as PKAI, can identify that the business under Cedi govern, which is where it will also affect to the reputation of Cedi. Finally, we have business management risk, which is unlikely to occur but could have a major impact on the business if it does. This could include a lack of effective leadership or decision making process, which can lead to a lack of direction and focus within the business. A lack of direction and focus within a business can have a negative consequence for the business. It can lead to missed opportunities as the business may not be able to identify and pursue new opportunity effectively. This could also lead to a problem and inefficiency within the business as the employee may not have clear goal or task to work towards. And finally, we have business interaction risk, which is a more potentially major risk. This could occur when business rely on single supplier for a critical component of its products, and that supplier experience a disruption in its operation. This could prevent the company from producing its product, also leading to a loss of income. In conclusion, running a business in university setting can come with a variety of risks, but by understanding and managing these risks, student entrepreneurs can increase their chance of success. I will pass to Faris, who will discuss how to manage the risk. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and a very good evening. My name is Muhammad Faris bin Azanan and my metric number 272729. I will continue presenting on approaches to manage the risk and risk register. After going through all of the identification, techniques, impacts, acceptability and risk metric, Cedi need appropriate approaches to manage all of these risks. We will take a look on all the approaches recommended by our group. Number 1, compliance risk. Cedi can guide to the student to help them understanding their obligation and develop strategies. Number 2, legal risk. Students need to understand the legal requirement that apply to the student's business in university setting. Number 3, security risk. Cedi can train students on security best practices that can help reduce the risk of security breaches. Number 4, operational risk. Cedi can develop contingency plan that can help students respond effectively to unexpected events. Number 5, business interrupt risk. Cedi need regularly monitoring and reviewing students' business operations that can help identify potential risks. Number 6, competitive risk. Cedi can help students build a strong relationship with their customer that can help retain them and reduce the business of losing to the competitors. Number 7, strategic risk. Cedi should advise to student or make a free consultation session to help them understanding potential risk. Number 8, execution risk. Cedi may ensure students have a backup plan, establish relationship with alternate supplier and implement protocol. Number 9, reputation risk. Cedi should suggest to student that plan in place for managing negative media coverage, responding to customer complaint and addressing regulatory issues. Number 10, resources risk. Cedi can provide training to give understanding and knowledge regarding resources management. Number 11, cyber threat risk. Cedi should give awareness to students to make sure their business use secure, strong security. Number 12, health and safety risk. Cedi can provide training to students on health and safety best practices. Number 13, business management risk. Cedi should give guides to students to manage their business from legal, financial and other aspects as needed to help. Number 14, funding risk. Students can identify the funding requirement for their business. Number 15, political risk. Suggest students diversify their business operation to spread risk and increase revenue and profitability. Next, we will take a look at risk register. Risk register can be defined as a set of logs that show every risk that the organization has identified, the likelihood and potential effect of those risks, the steps that organizations are doing to mitigate those risks, and who is in charge of handling them. At the university level, risk registration management is under the supervision of risk management officer. Cedi needs to download all of this form on the website, fill the form before sending it to the office. This is the proposal of risk register prepared by Group 1, starting from compliance risk, legal risk, security risk, operational risk, business interruption risk, competitive risk, strategic risk, execution risk, reputation risk, resource risk, cyber threat risk, health and safety risk, business management risk, funding risk, and political risk. That's all from our group, where we choose Cooperative and Entrepreneurship Development Institute, Cedi, as selected PTJ for our group. Thank you.